Right now, the day's biggest news stories from a Vegas perspective. This is the Vegas Take with Sharp and Shapiro.
Oh yeah, what's up, Vegas? Happy Friday. Hope everybody's in a good mood. I'm in a good mood because it's Friday. Why wouldn't I be in a good mood? And you should be in a good mood because your friend Brian Shapiro back at you. It is the Vegas Take. Sharp and Shapiro, glad you could join us. Well, it's just Shapiro, at least as of right now. Thanks for joining us, everybody. Glad you could be with us. Oh yeah, a lot to get to, a lot to go over. We're going to go over the testimony of right here just a little bit. The impeachment inquiry hearings continuing yesterday. It was some riveting testimony. We'll talk about that in just a little bit. Coming up at the bottom of the hour, Mr. X, he's also known as the Hollywood conservative. There's this crazy Julia Roberts story that's out there. Apparently, she could be playing Harriet Tubman. That was the idea, but yet nobody in Hollywood is lashing out about it. We'll get to him coming up at the bottom of the hour. A Trump supporter, by the way. That's why we call him Mr. X. Can't reveal his identity. You're not going to believe the things that Lindsey Graham said about Joe Biden years back. You want to talk, wow, can you believe it? Lindsey Graham flip-flopping? No. He seems like such a genuine person to me. Shepard Smith kind of speaking for the first time publicly since being, or I should say since resigning from Fox News. We're also going to replay an interview we did yesterday with Anthony Scaramucci because the Mooch came on our show yesterday along with Mike Lavinati, and we asked him a little bit about Donald Trump on a Saturday afternoon, all of a sudden going to Walter Reed Medical Facility. Well, the Mooch had some interesting theories into what's going on with Donald Trump, and I'll tell you, it makes a lot of sense. He thinks that Donald Trump had a stroke. So we'll get to that coming up in a little bit. Oh, look who decided to join us today. It is JD Sharp. JD, how's it going? Yeah, your mic's on. Go ahead. You can speak. Why don't you want to talk? My co-host is in studio and he doesn't want to talk. What's going on? Is everything okay? Everything's all right? Oh, all right. Okay. All right. No big deal. I was just in the middle of telling people what we're doing for the show. That's all. All right. So Scaramucci coming up at the bottom at hour number 2, the bottom of the hour. Hour number 3. This is a video that is going viral. I think that's very fair to say. An umpire getting into it with some parents at a Little League baseball game. We will explain to you what the parents said to this umpire that made the umpire walk off in the middle of the game. We will explain that to you coming up in hour number 3. Also, wow, this is a loaded show today. It's going to take me 25 minutes just to get through what we're doing today. Ellis Island, the girls from Ellis Island, ownership of Ellis Island, going to be coming in. They got a new beer garden over there. They got some cool stuff going on. Very, very cool casino. Best place in Las Vegas, in my opinion, to do karaoke. So they're going to be coming in studio to talk a little bit about that. Floyd Mayweather, making some references to the fact that he might be getting back into the ring in 2020. And the UNLV football team playing their last game at Sam Boyd Stadium tomorrow against San Jose State. Wow. A lot to get to, a lot to go over. Let's get into it. And I want to start off quickly by saying I went to the Vegas Golden Knights game last night. If you're watching us on YouTube right now, the Vegas Take page, I'm wearing my Vegas Knights winter hat that was given to all the fans and members of the media. It's a hat helping to raise money, of course, for cancer and cancer research. They do a great job with that. Tough game last night for the Vegas Golden Knights as they played their rivals. Let's call it for what it is. Let's call it the San Jose Sharks. This is the team that, people love to hate in Las Vegas. And Knights didn't play their best game. There's no question about that. And San Jose had their backup goaltender in there. Knights outshot the Sharks, but they didn't get enough quality shots. There's no question about that. Anyway, long story short, the game went to overtime, and the Knights end up losing this game 2-1. So a tough loss for the Vegas Golden Knights. It was a great crowd, great atmosphere, and it was a lot of fun last night. I also want to thank Tropical Smoothie Cafe. They came in today, and they brought some smoothies. All right, let's get down to business here. We've been talking a lot about this Fiona Hill testimony And there are many people on the right, many people on Fox News, many right-wing conspiracy theorists that are going after this woman for absolutely and positively no reason. So Sean Hannity was on, he did his show on TV last night. And apparently on his television show, he thinks he knows more than the Ukrainian and Russian politics than Hill does, apparently. The reason why I say that is because he referred to Hill as a so-called Ukraine expert. He mocked her testimony. He claimed Hill falsely accused Republicans of pushing a conspiracy theory about the Ukrainian election interference. That's completely not true. And then one personality from the OANN network. Have you heard of these people? The chief White House correspondent for One America News Network. It is a far-right media organization with little reach that Trump keeps promoting, implied in a tweet Thursday that Fiona Hill and Vindeman were not real Americans. Can you believe that? Vindeman, a man who has served this country honorably, who has shrapnel in his body, who risked his life for this country, and they promote a tweet that they're not real Americans. How can you be more real American than that when you risk your life for this country? That's the first question I would ask. Both Hill and Vindman obviously were born outside the United States, but they're citizens, as I mentioned, who served honorably. But OANN's Emerald Robinson, have you heard of this woman? Never heard of her before. She didn't appear to have much regard for their service. In fact, in a tweet, she mocked Hill's accent and wrote, "I'm wondering, are any Americans going to testify against Trump?" Let me repeat that again. She mocked Vindeman and Hill and said, "Are any Americans going to testify against Trump?" This is a woman who smears everybody on the left, and now she has decided to smear war heroes. Jake Tapper on CNN noted that it was ugly and frankly un-American thing to say. Robinson ultimately deleted her tweet. Of course she did, claiming it was being misconstrued. Really, how can you misconstrue that? When you say that American citizens that fought for your freedoms and risked their lives for this country are not American. How could that be misconstrued? It is ridiculous. And on Sean Hannity's show last night, he claimed to his viewers that the hearings were a dud, an absolutely unmitigated disaster for the Democrats. The banner on his show on Fox News read, "Just like the Russia hoax, Ukraine impeachment sham dies an embarrassing death for Democrats on Capitol Hill." What the hell are they talking about on Fox News? Are they actually watching the testimony and listening? Tucker Carlson and Laura Ingraham also mocked the hearings. Radio host Mark Levin and Rush Limbaugh have continued to spin for Trump. Websites like Breitbart have showed no signs of turning him, and the bottom line, Trump's right-wing media wall has held. One notable person that has not been on Fox News all week, geez, I wonder why. Maybe because he's honest, maybe because he's fair, is Judge Andrew Napolitano. As you know, Judge Andrew Napolitano has not been wearing the Donald Trump knee pads like many others do on Fox News. No, instead they decided to replace Judge Andrew Napolitano, who is one of the most well-respected people on TV. They replaced him with Ken Starr and Andrew McCarthy, two others that are wearing the Donald Trump knee pads. This is Fox News. This is what they do. And I am not going to sit here and say that CNN doesn't do some of the same stuff and they're not biased, because obviously they are, and so is MSNBC. But if you're one of those people on the right that are going to call CNN fake news and you're going to call MSNBC fake news, you damn right better call Fox News fake news also. Otherwise, you are a biased clown. And I just gave you several very key examples. If you're a Republican out there and you're okay with talk show hosts attacking Vindman, calling him not an American, attacking Hill, and going after her accent, if you're okay with that sort of stuff, then I don't want to hear your crap about how CNN is fake news and you want to criticize MSNBC and CNN. You better criticize Fox News also, because it's disgusting. And there should be no place for that ever in the media, ever. And yeah, by the way, it does start with the President of the United States. Let me explain. Speaking of Fox News, he made an appearance, almost an hour-long interview this morning on Fox and Friends. And I got to tell you, some of this audio is unbelievable. It shows that the president is not well. He's not mentally well. I don't know if he suffered a stroke. I don't know if he's got heart problems. I don't know why he went to the hospital last week. But we know one thing for sure. He is not mentally right. This was a lengthy and rambling interview by Donald Trump earlier this morning on Fox and Friends. He's accusing now the hosts of Fox and Friends of lying when they said they didn't know who the identity was of the Ukraine whistleblower. Have a listen to this audio.
Let me just interrupt for a second. Mr. President, you said we know the name of the whistleblower. We've seen names on the internet. We have no idea who the whistleblower is.
Right.
No, I don't believe. Steve, can I tell you? I know you.
I don't know.
Well. I know you.
I've seen names, but I don't know who it is.
But it's a. All right.
I don't think Steve has ever told a lie, Ainsley and Brian, in his life. But that one, I'm sort of thinking, come on.
So you expected
you're a great person. I'm always telling people I watch your show in the morning. I don't watch the other garbage.
No, we've seen names online, but Mr. President, we don't have any verification.
Yeah, and it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter anyway. We're not going to use it.
You don't need verification. You know exactly who it is, Steve.
Right.
Okay, but I like that you say that.
Right.
I mean, what is Trump talking about? He's accusing these people on Fox and Friends of lying. And they're absolutely right. We don't have any verifications from anybody that we know exactly who the whistleblower is. And the president is calling them liars, saying that they do. This guy is absolutely losing his mind. And by the way, I am going to agree with Brian Kilmeade. I don't always agree with him, but I'm going to agree with him here. Even if they did know who it was, they're not going to use it on the air because it's not the right thing to do. I agree. Of course, Trump doesn't address that. Of course he doesn't. This man is not well. Then he decides to go after George Conway this morning, suggesting that Nikki Haley might be the running mate in 2020. Have a listen to this.
Well, Kellyanne is great, but she's married to a total whack job. I think she must have done some number on him, Ainsley. I don't know what Kellyanne did to that guy, because I don't even know him. I mean, I met him for
George
second. He's got to be some kind of a nut job. She must have done some bad things to him because that guy is crazy.
Okay, so why is he crazy? Why is he a nut job? Because he doesn't like you, Mr. President? Because he criticizes you, Mr. President? Because he doesn't kiss your ass every day like Kellyanne Conway does? Because he doesn't lie for you every day? The man is entitled to his opinion. Now, I would make the argument that he's so against you because he wants to make a name for himself as an attorney. But why is he crazy? Why is he nuts? Do you notice anybody that is against the president, anybody that disagrees with the president, anybody that doesn't kiss the president's ass, he calls names? Must be nuts, must be crazy. He must have done something. Kellyanne Conway must have done something to him. Well, guess what, Mr. President? You hired Kellyanne Conway. Maybe you should have done a little bit of investigative work to find out who her husband is before you decided to hire her. You're the one that's nuts. You're the one that's crazy. It's your administration that hired her. Deal with the consequences. He has a right to share his opinion just like you do. And Trump continued, this time saying he wants a trail.
But you know who I want as the first witness? Because, frankly, I want a trial. I could have it.
You want a trial?
Whatever I want. Oh, I would. Look, number one, they should never, ever impeach. This is not impeach. I watched 5 people on your network yesterday say there's nothing here.
And excuse me, I misspoke there. A trial. He wants a trial. I said trail. Now, it's amazing to me that there still are people out there that think that, this man is right with anything that comes out of his mouth. Let's just reflect on what he said here. Now, this was a very long interview. This was close to a 60-minute interview. He did a lot of rambling. He accused some of the Fox and Friend hosts of lying, saying that they knew who the whistleblower was, which is not necessarily true. Then he went after George Conway and said that Kellyanne Conway must have done something very bad to him, calling him crazy, a bunch of other names, just because he disagrees with Trump. And now he's saying he wants a trial. Well, let me just give the President of the United States an update. Last I checked, Mr. President, these impeachment inquiry hearings are still going on. There's more witnesses that are going to be up there, in my opinion, including John Bolton. And I've said this a million times, and I'll say it again. There are 2 different types of Republicans. I spoke to a few last night at the Vegas Golden Knights game. People who I respect. 2 different types of Republicans right now when it comes to this impeachment inquiry hearing. There are the type of Republicans that are extremely reasonable. While I don't agree with everything they say, I don't agree with what anybody says, everything. I don't care whether you're a Democrat or Republican, but that's fine. But there are some Republicans that are reasonable, and those reasonable Republicans are saying, look, what the president did was wrong. There's enough evidence to suggest that The president should not have brought up the Bidens in that phone call. The president, if it's true, should not have withheld aid for an investigation into an American politician. There are Republicans that are saying that, but then many of those Republicans say, I don't think it reaches an impeachable offense. And that's fine. Like I've said before, I'm willing to have that discussion. I disagree, but state your case. I want to hear it. That is a fair opinion. That is a fair take on this issue. But you have to admit from the core, this was wrong of the president to do. Beyond inappropriate at minimum. To possibly withhold aid for personal gain is abuse of power. To bring up the Bidens in this situation and to all of a sudden say that he cares about corruption when there was a ton of corruption in his own administration and many of those are in jail right now. But to say that all of a sudden he just cares about corruption and he wants to save taxpayer money is absurd and it is ridiculous. So anyway, those are the Republicans that I speak to on a daily basis that are reasonable, that I could have a good conversation with. Doesn't mean we're going to agree, but I could have a good conversation with those people. And there are plenty of them out there. But then there are the Republicans that I just spoke about that are in the media and that are all over that are completely unreasonable. These are the Republicans, talk show host, media members who are calling this a sham. The people like Nunez and Jordan who are calling these this inquiry, they're calling it a circus. These are the people that are going after the witnesses that are testifying, that are going after Vindman, that are calling him un-American, someone who risked his life for this country, who has shrapnel in his body as we speak. Those that are calling it a sham, that are saying Schiff should testify, that he should go to jail. Those that don't want the truth. If you put party before the truth, what does that make you? I would call that person a coward. Somebody who doesn't want to know the truth. Why would all these people get up there and lie? Why? Why would Sondland, who, by the way, donated $1 million to the Donald Trump campaign, said that he had multiple discussions with Rudy Giuliani. Donald Trump's personal attorney said there was a quid pro quo. Straight from Rudy Giuliani. Do you think Rudy Giuliani's doing all this stuff on his own? You think he's making these decisions with Sondland on his own? Is there any reasonable person out there that thinks that Rudy Giuliani went behind the president's back and had discussions about Ukraine and the investigation into the Bidens on his own without any direction from the president of the United States? Is there really any person out there that believes that with an IQ above 20? Anybody that's not biased that would believe that? Of course not. It is very simple here to connect the dots. And connecting the dots, I mean, I can make this as basic for you as possible. Yes, the president was more concerned about Joe Biden than Ukraine. Yes, the president was withholding aid to make sure that the Ukrainians opened up an investigation into the Bidens. Yes, said it on the phone call. Was there a direct quid pro quo in the phone call? No. But he brought up Joe Biden. Do me a favor. You've got Giuliani running around everywhere. You've got Sondland testifying that there was a quid pro quo. A man who tried to protect the president of the United States a few weeks ago, then was forced to change his testimony when he realized, if I lie, I could get in big trouble. I might go to jail. I might end up like Paul Manafort. I might end up like Michael Cohen or Papadopoulos or whatever the hell that guy's name is. And then Sondland changed his testimony. This man, you want to talk about somebody who's not credible at all, who donated $1 million to the Trump campaign, but he was forced to be forthcoming. Now, do I think he gave up everything? No, because I still think he's protecting the president, but at the same time he said, well, I got to protect myself too. Those are the two types of Republicans that we're dealing with here. And look, I could go the same way with the Democrats. Democrats are the same way. There's probably some Democrats out there that don't want the truth. They just want to vilify the president every chance they get without the facts. I don't doubt that. But I truly believe that there are Democrats out there that want the truth and believe this is extremely serious and it could be an impeachable offense. I absolutely feel that way. 150%. It goes both ways. There are phonies on the left and there are phonies on the right. But in this specific situation, I'm not really talking about the Democrats here. I'm talking about the Republicans that are going after all these witnesses that are testifying, some of whom are Purple Heart war heroes that risk their life for this country, calling them un-American, going after them. It is disgusting. It's a disgrace. Why can't we all be reasonable here? I don't know if this is an impeachable offense. I don't know. We're going to learn more information. These impeachment hearings are not over with yet. But why can't people be reasonable? I'll tell you why some people can't be reasonable. They can't be reasonable because they care more about their party than if the president committed a crime. The Jim Jordans of the world, who, by the way, interrupts people left and right on the stand. Funny, he didn't interrupt the wrestling coach. He didn't interrupt the doctor on the wrestling team, did he? He didn't do that. Or how about the several students that went into his office claiming that they told him about sexual abuse? Well, he didn't really do anything about that, did he? Allegedly, he didn't. Why would those kids lie? But no, he claims all those kids are lying, right? And now he claims all these people are lying on the stand. That's the character of Jim Jordan. How the hell does that guy get into office? What a disgrace. What a horrible human being. The pedophile enabler asking questions to witnesses, that guy shouldn't be representing anybody. He should be behind bars, as far as I'm concerned. But Republicans are they love this guy, Jim Jordan. They love him. Because, why wouldn't you love a guy like that who enables pedophilia? It's a joke. It's disgusting. It's ridiculous. Well, I'll tell you what, coming up next, we're going to be speaking with Mr. X. He is also known on this show as the Hollywood Conservative. We call him that because he is a Donald Trump supporter and he is a longtime producer out there in Hollywood. I want to know, how are people taking these impeachment inquiry hearings out there in Hollywood? Also, a Julia Roberts story in regards to Harriet Tubman. We're going to talk to him about that coming up next. You're listening to The Vegas Take. Be back right after this.